I don't want to overthink this. I just want to talk about some perfumes that I've really been loving lately. Oh, it's so beautiful. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video. I'm almost hesitant to talk about it, which is a floral. Cherie. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a little while since I turned the camera on for any serious filming session. I've been a little bit overwhelmed lately. There's a lot going on over here in a lot of different aspects of my life, and so it just the act of filming, even though I want to film a video, I will literally say to myself, oh, I want to film a video this afternoon or something, and then the thought hits me of, well, what am I going to talk about? And then I have to think about it, and that's when it all goes pear-shaped. So that's why I'm choosing a very easy topic at the moment. There have been some perfumes recently that I have been really, really enjoying, and they're not necessarily going to be the ones that I've worn the most, although there are a couple in this list that I have definitely worn quite a bit in recent times. But all of these are perfumes that lately, when I've dug them out of the cupboard and I've just spritzed them on, I've just had this sense of peace and calm or happiness, or I've had a real emotional connection to these perfumes. And there are so many more in my wardrobe that would give me the same impact, but these are just the few that I happened to reach for in recent months, and I remembered that I had this reaction to them. So without too much more rambling, let's just get into the video. The first one on this list is fairly new to my wardrobe. I did buy it secondhand. It's one that's been on my wish list for a good couple of years now, but I just didn't buy it because I didn't really want to pay the full retail price, and I kind of figured that eventually one would crop up secondhand, and sure enough it did. So I got it for a good price. The person who'd owned it before me had barely worn it. She'd just sprayed it for a few times to test it and then decided it wasn't for her. And I have worn the heck out of it over the last sort of 3 weeks that I've had it. And this is Capeline by YSL. So I know this got a lot of attention in recent years. I think Josephine from Jus de Rose talked about this a lot, and this was sort of one of her favorites for a while. It's definitely becoming one of my favorites as well. As you can see, I've put quite a dent in it. This is a 125 ml bottle, and there's a bit of a dent happening there. So I literally just shower myself in this perfume when I wear it. It is one of those perfumes, I think, that you can get away with just going ham with the sprays and just showering yourself in it without overwhelming yourself too much. Although I will say, I don't recommend drenching yourself in this and then going for a run or something, because I did that one day. I just sort of drenched myself in it in the afternoon, and I was going to go and walk Poppy, and then I decided maybe I'll take her for a run instead. And I did kind of, because my body was heating up so much, it did lift it off me, and it choked me out a little bit. So don't recommend doing that. But if you're just sort of wearing it normally, it's not a huge, I don't think it's a huge projector. It does project a little bit in the opening, and so you can definitely smell it on yourself, but it settles down to, I guess, a more close projection over time throughout the wear. I will say though that I do recall, you know, Josephine sort of saying that she didn't think this lasted very long. On me, this lasts ages. So, and I can smell it all day, and even when I think I've lost it, I'll get whiffs of it again later in the day. So I feel like this does last a long time, but maybe it just doesn't project for a really, really long time. So this is really, really beautiful. How do I describe it? I would say it's sort of a vanillic white floral, but it's got a translucency about it. There is a watery quality to it as well. And I think it is meant to be a lily perfume. In fact, I think it says on here, yeah, it's like accord, Bliss and vanille. So it's a vanillic lily, but there are other white florals in here too, 100%. I don't know what's in there. But it was funny because I had a couple of friends come around about 2 weeks ago, and we had a bit of a sniffy session on a Sunday afternoon. And one of my friends, one of the ladies, spritzed this on her chest that day, and then she drove home And when she got home, she texted me and she said, you know, it's been bugging me the whole trip home because all I could smell was this perfume. And then she said, I think it reminds me of Alien Essence Absolute. And I went, really? And actually, I think she's right. It's just that this has a more watery quality to it. There's definitely, the lily note is prominent in here. But I think those other white florals, I can't remember what was in Alien Essence Absolute. I can't even remember what it smells like. I actually owned a bottle of that a few years ago and then I sold it because I didn't think I would ever wear it. And now I can't really remember what it smells like. I wish I'd kept a sample of it now. But anyway, she has a bottle of it and she reckons that it smells similar. So that is Capeline by YSL. Really just such an easy perfume to wear. And I just feel really fresh and clean, but also very feminine and pretty when I wear this. So that is Capeline. And also, I don't know how I'm going to go today describing these perfumes. It's been a while since I've really fully been in the headspace of trying to describe something. For the last couple of months, really, I have just been putting perfume on and just enjoying them without trying to analyze them too much. And, you know, this I only bought 3 weeks ago. So you know, I really haven't sat down and gone, oh, I'm getting this and I'm getting this and I'm getting this. No, I've just been putting it on and going, I smell great, and then walking out the door. I've got some weird setting on this camera and I don't know what I've done with it. Is it staying in focus? I don't know. Hopefully it's staying in focus. I'm sorry if it's not. Next up is one from Dolci Pensieri, and this is Erawan. Yeah, see, it's not focusing. Why is it not focusing? There we go. Oh, this is so pretty. I'm going to spritz it on a little strip. Hang on. So I think you need to enjoy the note of hay to enjoy Erawan. It's sort of green and dry and hay-like. There's some petitgrain in there as well. And it's very woody and kind of vanillic as well, a little bit in the base. The vanilla is very subtle, but there is definitely some sweetness in here. And it's just such a calming perfume. You know, I used to talk about Sandalwood Temple a lot, and I do still wear that one, but the reason I liked Sandalwood Temple was because it just had this very calming aura about it, and this one also makes me feel very calm. And I think part of the reason is just simply that you feel like you're in nature when you smell it, because it has a very natural feel about it. So green, dry, hay-like, a little bit grassy maybe, not grassy as in galbanum grassy, but sort of dry grassiness and woodiness, and maybe just a hint of smokiness to it. There's quite a bit of vetiver in here as well, I think, and that's probably what's giving it that sort of smoky aspect. Kind of mossy, like it's hay-like, but it's not really golden. It's got this sort of moodiness about it, but it's not dark either. It's really sort of in the middle when it comes to, you know, the spectrum of light and dark. Doesn't sort of lean too far either way, but it's got this kind of moody aspect about it, whilst also being or having a brightness about it from the hay. Anyway, I think it's kind of highly underrated, this one. It doesn't really get talked about a lot these days, although I think there was a period of time where it got a lot of airtime, maybe back in 2019, 2018 or something. In fact, I think it might have even been released in 2018. Perhaps that's why it got so much airtime at that point. But anyway, so that is Erawan, just really, really beautiful. Again, I haven't worn it a huge amount in the last couple of months, but it's been sitting on my perfume tray, and every time that I have worn it, I've just been in perfume heaven. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video. The next one is one that I'm sort of on and off with. It's not that I ever dislike it. It's just that sometimes it just doesn't excite me that much. But for whatever reason, a couple of months ago, I spritzed some of this on, and for about 3 or 4 days, it's all I wanted to smell like. And this is Marfa by Mima Paris. It's a tuberose dominant perfume. It also has quite a bit of ylang ylang in there as well, I think. I feel like I get quite a bit of ylang ylang. It does have a very tropical feel to it. It's very sweet, and I think I like it because it sort of reminds me a little bit of Love Tuberose by Amouage, which I also own. But Love Tuberose is much more creamy. You've got that, I think there's like a chantilly cream note or something in there. So it's a lot more creamy and gourmand leaning in the sweetness, whereas this one is just sweet floral. Sometimes that's just what I want to smell like. I just want to smell like really sweet florals. And when I'm in the mood for that, this is perfect. This also reminds me quite a bit actually of a Supreme Bouquet by YSL, but I feel like this sort of sits in between Love Tuberose and Supreme Bouquet because it has not so much of the creaminess and the gourmand aspect that the Love Tuberose has, but it's less translucent and earthy than Supreme Bouquet by YSL. I actually really love Supreme Bouquet as well because it has that lovely earthy undertone to it, whereas this one doesn't really have quite as much of that. It's really more focused on the florals, less about the woods. There are some woods, I think, in the base of this, like maybe cedar or something, but it's really more about the florals in here. And there might also be orange blossom as well. Maybe. It just suits a craving for me. When I'm craving something sweet and floral, this is the kind of thing that maybe I want to go for. If I want sort of a medium-bodied feel in the perfume, if I want something a bit sort of more translucent with a bit more of a watery feel, maybe I'll go for the YSL. And if I want something more gourmand leaning, I'll reach for the Amouage. So that is Marfa by Mima Paris, a really, really pretty one. So the next one, I'm almost hesitant to talk about it because when I talked about this one in my most recent most worn video, I think the August most worn video, I got a fairly nasty comment actually in the comment section about implying that I was basically lying because I got the bottle for free. This is Mystic Bliss by Goldfoot & Banks. And yes, I'll reiterate again that I got the bottle for free because I attended the launch event at Goldfoot & Banks in Sydney a couple of months ago. The person who commented clearly did not like this perfume, and that's totally fine. I happen to really like this, and I particularly love wearing it outdoors. It is a very aromatic perfume, very woody, very herbal. It's got a note called kunzia in it, which is like a native bush or a native flower that grows in certain parts of Australia, particularly Flinders Island, which is where they source the kunzia from. And so it does have a very green, herbal, aromatic, woody aspect to it, whilst also having a floral element. And the floral element is very subtle in this perfume. So in a way, you could probably say it leans masculine, but they've made it more gourmand by adding a caramel note to it. So it's got a bit of sweetness in there as well, which sort of pulls it back into more of the unisex realm. Maybe I love it because I love walking in the Australian bush, and I find that this sort of reminds me of elements of being out in the Australian bush, except it also smells a little bit gourmand and sweet, so that makes it very pleasant. So like it or don't like it, I don't care. I'm just here to tell you what I'm wearing. So that's Mystic Bliss by Goldfoot & Banks. All right, so the next one that I'm going to talk about is actually really, really special. And I have talked about it before, but I cannot explain. I'm not even sure I can convey the feeling of how much I enjoy this perfume. But this is Pikovaya Dama by Xerjoff. I only have the little 15ml bottle, and look, it's still relatively full, although once it gets down to about here, it's going to go very quickly because the bottle is obviously thinner at the bottom. This is hands down my favorite Xerjoff perfume of all of the Xerjoffs that I've smelled. And I've smelled quite a few at this point because I did have a bit of a moment earlier this year and late last year, I think, just sort of exploring more from the Xerjoff range. I own a few bottles from this brand now, and some of those may or may not stay in my wardrobe, but this one is my favorite. of all of them. And there's actually a full-size bottle of this going at the moment at a really good price, and I'm thinking of just picking it up, even though I don't need it yet because obviously it's still quite full, but I just don't want to be without this perfume. So this is an aldehydic floral, but it has a very ambery resinous base in it. So it's quite different from any other aldehydic perfume that I've smelled. It's got a waxiness to it. It's not overly bright and sparkly. So it's not like, you know, the Chanel No. 5 Low where it's very sparkly and champagne-like. It's not like that at all. It's waxy, and yeah, I mean, it's dense. It's got a density to it, and there's a bitterness as well. I don't know where the bitterness is coming from, and kind of smoky. It's just so good. And every time I put this on, I am just transported. I don't know where I'm transported to. I'm just like in my own head, just smelling my perfume everywhere I go, because it's also quite a powerhouse perfume. So it's quite strong. I can smell it all over me, even if I've just put 2 sprays on. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to hype it up, I'm sorry, but this is the perfume of the moment for me in my wardrobe, and I absolutely adore it. So that is Pikovaya Dama from Xerjoff, probably the most sophisticated Xerjoff perfume I've ever smelled. All right, I'll talk about the next 2 together because they're from the same brand, and I've talked about them a lot already in the past. Over here, I have Frangipani by Ormond Jane and Montabaco Flor by Ormond Jane. I mean, I've talked about this so much. If you've watched my most worn videos for the last 6 months, you know that I've been talking about this so much, and I'm going to put it down because it's very reflective. But basically, these have been my go-to pick-me-up perfumes that I spritz on either mid-morning or in the afternoon when maybe I'm lagging a little bit, and instead of having a coffee, because I'm trying not to drink too much coffee at the moment, I decide to just reach for something that is very uplifting in the fragrance realm, and these 2 are it. I can imagine that in the coming months, as it gets hotter here, we're obviously coming into summer, and I imagine that Montabaco Flor might get switched out for Montabaco Cuba, which is more citrusy instead of floral, so it might be a little bit more conducive to the hot summer months. I'll try and link a video here where I've talked about this one in a little bit more detail. I don't want to go into too much detail on it now because for the regular viewers, they're probably sick of hearing about it, quite frankly, because I did talk about it for several months in a row. But Frangipani by Ormond Jane, a really beautiful green, almost tangy green, citrusy white floral. Somebody was messaging me on Instagram the other day, and they were asking me for Frangipani perfume recommendations, I think. What was I talking about? I can't remember, but we were talking about Frangipani somehow for some reason. I can't remember. Maybe I was wearing something as my scent of the day. I don't think I was wearing this one. Anyway, she asked me if I could recommend, you know, if I'd come across any really good Frangipani perfumes. And I started to think, and I thought, I don't know if I have that many Frangipani dominant perfumes. Obviously, there's this one. I do have Ombre by Narciso Rodriguez as well. But she was specifically asking me if there was something, if I knew of one that really resembled the smell of an actual Frangipani flower. Oh no, that's what it was. I posted a picture of some Frangipanis that had just flowered in our front yard. That's what it was. We were literally talking about Frangipanis. And I don't know if I have a perfume recommendation yet for a perfume that, you know, literally smells like a Frangipani flower. This does smell like Frangipani, but this is missing the creamy velvetyness of the Frangipani flower that I think really lends quite a substantial experience to the smell of smelling an actual Frangipani. So this is more green and sparkly and translucent and fresh and citrusy, to make it very wearable for the summer, I suppose. But I have yet to find a a Frangipani perfume that I think is a really good representation of an actual Frangipani flower. So question to any of you, if you know of a really good Frangipani perfume, please throw them in the comments below, because I'm sure the person who asked me would be very keen to know. And I'm keen to know, because now I'm on a mission to find some Frangipani perfumes and see if I can find one that I think is a good representation of a real life Frangipani. So anyway, that's Ormond Jane's Frangipani. Very uplifting and fresh and clean, and just makes me happy when I put it on. Next is actually just a sample that somebody sent me. We did a swap of a couple of specific samples that we both wanted to try, and then we each just threw in a bunch of other things that we thought the other person might like. And one of the ones that she put in that pack for me was this one, which is APOM pour Femme by MFK, Maison Francis Kurkdjian, which is now discontinued, sadly. Damn it. And I say damn it because I absolutely love this perfume. I've only got a few drops left, and I love it so much. I love this perfume. And I know that he's re-released a new one now, which is like meant to be more of a unisex one, I think, that replaces the Pour Femme and the Pour Homme. But I'm too scared to try it, because I'm so scared I'm going to be disappointed. And I actually did post about this on Instagram, I think last week, and a few people responded saying, no, the new one is nothing on this one. So I'm a bit sad. So this is got quite a dominant ylang-ylang note, but I think there's also quite a bit of orange blossom in here. It's got I think where this one is going to be different from probably the one that's just been released is this has kind of a vintage feel about it to me. Kind of modern vintage, I guess, because it's got this sort of vintage, almost ambery feel to it that you get from a lot of older sort of perfumes. Maybe there's some aldehydes in here as well. I should look up, let me look up the actual note listing, and I know note listings they're just a descriptor, but let's see what it says. APOM Femme. I'm on Parfumo, by the way, which I've been really loving lately. I've actually quite enjoying using this app. So yeah, Tunisian orange blossom, ylang-ylang, and cedarwood. So it doesn't actually say aldehydes. But after smelling Pikovaya Dama, I mean, they don't smell anything alike. This is very soapy. And I think because it's so soapy, again, there's kind of this bitter, I'm going to wear it. There's kind of this sort of almost bitterness to it. A bitter edge to the waxiness that's in here. Actually, in the opening, I have to also say, when I first put it on, I was like, oh, not sure about that. And I was wondering if it had been tainted by the plastic on this little spritzer, because I was thinking, oh, it seems there's something a little bit edgy in there. But it goes away, and I think it's just part of the florals, to be honest. Or it could be the ylang-ylang, which is a floral, cherie. Anyway, so I don't know. It's just really pretty. It's almost kind of sultry, even though it's very soapy. There's something very boldly feminine and grown up about it, but it's also got this soapy aspect, which, pulls it back into a more wearable realm, I guess. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And when it dries down as well, it's just, and you can smell it like everywhere around you. I mean, I've only been wearing little spritzes out of this tiny atomizer, and I'm just in heaven. It just creates this beautiful scent bubble around me. So maybe I do need to try the new one, just in case I'm not expecting it to live up to this, but maybe there will be an aspect to it that still transports me a little bit the way this one does. And then finally, I've been on a bit of a rose kick lately, and in particular, I've been really gravitating towards sort of dark, maybe a bit velvety, kind of syrupy rose elements in my perfumes, which is like such a turnaround compared to the Cherie of say 5 years ago. You know, like I would never have even touched a rose perfume back then, not voluntarily anyway. So I've got 3 here. They're all travel sizes, so I'll just talk about them in quick succession. I picked up a bottle of Dolci Pensieri by Parfum Aroma. I grabbed this one because I did smell it when I was in Spain. Then Scented Moments, I think his channel has been talking about this one quite a bit lately as well. It's a kind of a rose oud perfume. It's very resinous and sweet and syrupy. The rose in here is quite dark. It has elements of it, so it does remind me of Oud Bouquet by Lancôme, but I find that I don't know if there is any oud in here, but I find it doesn't have that sort of sharp synthetic oud aspect to it. So I quite like the fact that this is more on the resinous sort of syrupy side. But it definitely has a lot of similarities to the old Oud Bouquet, but it's just, to me, this comes off just a little bit softer and perhaps a little bit, for want of a better word, more sophisticated. But anyway, so I haven't worn a lot of it because it is super, super strong, but I have enjoyed wearing this one very, very much. The next one is also a travel size of La Fille de Berlin by Serge Lutens. It is an official travel size that I picked up in Paris when I was there at the boutique. This is so pretty. I do have another travel size of this as well that I think I ordered from Fragrance Net, because sometimes you can order the travel sizes or the decants, they decant them. And so I have a fair bit of this for the time being. This one is really interesting because it's sort of dark and sultry and there is sweetness to it. But it's also kind of a little bit powdery, but it's also green. The rose in here, though it's sort of got a depth and a darkness to it, it's sort of green as well, which is a really interesting combo to me. And it's interesting to me because I'm not normally a green rose type of person. I feel like green rose is the type of rose in fragrance that is what put me off rose in the first place as a note. But somehow it works in here. It's also very spicy. It's also kind of a little bit soapy in a way as well. So I don't know what else is in here. And I don't think you ever really know with Serge anyway, do you? There is an element in here that almost feels sour, but it's not off-putting to me. Anyway, I've just been really loving this one, and I've been wearing it a lot at night time, actually, like sort of at bedtime. I'll put that one on. And then the other one is just one that I've been really, really loving. My camera is overheating. I've obviously been talking for too long. So this one is one that I got a sample of when I went to the boutique in Paris earlier this year. And then when I got home, I used up the sample and I ended up buying a travel size of it. And I think at some point in the not too distant future, we'll probably have to think about buying a full bottle of it as well, because already I'm not even halfway through the travel size yet, but I've only had it for a couple of weeks. So I have a feeling I may end up using up this travel size pretty quickly. Anyway, the perfume is Tabac Rose by BDK. So I've only got, this little bottle. What do I like about this one? The rose in here is so sweet. It's really syrupy and sweet. I don't know what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? This is not my scent profile typically, and I think the rose is made more sweet by a plum note that's in the opening. So it's got but it doesn't feel overly fruity to me. To me, it feels like everything that's in this perfume, there's meant to be tobacco, obviously. There's plum, there's a patchouli in the base as well, which gives it a nice woodiness, but also kind of a chocolatiness. But none of those other things, to me, are really competing with the rose. They're all kind of just supporting the rose. And to me, I'm just getting a really lovely, syrupy, sweet rose. And I feel like the reviews on this have been fairly mixed. Some people really don't like it, or they feel like they don't get the tobacco. And I agree. I actually don't feel like I'm getting a lot of tobacco. I feel like if the tobacco in here is playing a role perhaps of just helping with a bit of the texture and the atmospheric feel of the perfume a little bit. So there's all these other elements that are feeding into the perfume and playing into supporting that rose. So in that way, there's stuff going on, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that complicated when you wear it. I'm getting a little bit of a greenness even, if I really concentrate, and a dryness coming through in the base, so a dry woodiness. Anyway, it's definitely had some mixed reviews. So I am just having a real moment with it, and I'm really, really loving it. And perhaps by the time I finish this travel size, I'll be done, who knows? But I've got a thing for it at the moment. So I just need to calm down. Total surprise. I mean, I kind of hadn't really paid that much attention to BDK because obviously it gets a lot of airtime with Gris Charnel and Rouge Smoking and Pas Ce Soir, all of which, I mean, I do like Gris Charnel. I don't mind Rouge Smoking. Pas Ce Soir, I can take it or leave it. But Creme de Cuir and this one are by far the standouts of the brand for me. I feel like I haven't even smelled everything from the brand, but these two, this one and Creme de Cuir, are absolutely beautiful fragrances, to me at least. I know Creme de Cuir is not necessarily a favourite amongst other people. There's that sort of hit and miss for some people. So now I'm thinking I have to revisit the Rose Tobacco perfume from Papillon Parfums. I think I have a sample lying around somewhere. I have to locate it and give it a go because I think, you know, I wasn't really that into it when I smelled it years ago because the rose was a bit off-putting for me. Anyway, as I said, my camera is overheating. That's the end of the list anyway. I don't have any more perfumes behind me. So they're just the perfumes that I have really had an impact on me in the last few months. And I've really been, you know, not analysing my perfumes too much, but just trying to enjoy them. And with everything that's going on in my life at the moment, you know, it's just it's a reprieve for me to just lose myself in a really good perfume. And these are the ones that are helping me to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I do look forward to bringing you some more in the not too distant future. And I hope you are all having a wonderful lead up to the end of the year. Thanks. Bye.